chosen one. Something about this moment is not random, and your spirit may already sense it. There are rare times when heaven quietly interrupts the noise of ordinary life to speak directly to a soul that has just crossed an invisible threshold. This is one of those moments. Chosen one. There were nights when the silence around you felt unbearable. Times when you stood in situations where no one seemed to understand the weight you were carrying. People may have seen your smile, but they never saw the private battles that shaped your spirit. What felt like abandonment was not abandonment at all. It was examination. Heaven was watching something deeper than your circumstances, not your success, not your words, but the condition of your heart when no one else was there to witness it. And something changed recently. Anointed one. The test that once surrounded your life has quietly ended, and the spiritual realm has taken notice. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 reminds us that there is a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to endure and a time for recognition. You may not have realized it while it was happening, but your integrity during that hidden season marked a moment that heaven recorded. If messages like this help you recognize what God is doing in your life, consider subscribing so you do not miss the ones meant for you. Because what happened in your life recently was not ordinary, and heaven quietly marked that moment, a moment connected to the hour of 4:44 that is about to reveal its meaning. Chosen. One, hear this clearly. Heaven does not measure your life the way people do. People notice noise. Heaven notices weight. People react to what is visible. Heaven responds to what is hidden. And what has just ended in your life was not a random season of pressure. It was a holy measurement. It was a spiritual examination that reached deeper than your words, deeper than your public faith. Deeper than the image you know how to present when you still have strength left. The test was not about how you act when you feel inspired. It was about who you are when your soul is tired, when your heart is sore, when your mind is crowded, and when no one is standing close enough to tell the difference between your strength and your surrender. That is why this moment matters. Because there comes a point in every true spiritual journey when heaven stops examining what you say you believe and begins examining what remains in you when comfort is gone. Many can appear faithful when the room is bright. Many can sound pure when life is working in their favor. But the deeper test comes when the room is silent, when the prayer feels unanswered, when the support you expected never arrives, and when you're left standing in a kind of emotional wilderness that no one around you fully understands. That is where the real unveiling happens. That is where character stops being theory and becomes revelation. Chosen one, that was the battlefield. Not a battlefield of applause or public recognition, but the hidden battlefield of response. The battlefield of what rose up in you when disappointment would have been enough reason to become cold. The battlefield of what you chose when no one would have corrected you. The battlefield of what left your mouth when frustration could have justified bitterness. The battlefield of what your hands refused to do, even when desperation whispered that it would have been easier to compromise. This is the part many never understand. Heaven is not only listening to your prayers. Heaven is also watching your reflexes. It is watching what your soul reaches for first when your guard is down. And that is why this message has found you now. Because recently, something in your hidden life was witnessed. Perhaps it was a moment so ordinary that you almost missed it. Perhaps you were driving home exhausted, sitting on the edge of your bed in silence, answering a message while carrying disappointment or facing one more private frustration after already carrying too much. It may have looked small in the natural world, but heaven does not call small what reveals the truth of a soul. In that unseen moment, when you had every reason to react from pain, something else came out of you. Restraint came out. Integrity came out. Quiet mercy came out. A refusal to become what wounded you came out. And heaven marked it. Anointed one, that is what this 444 moment carries. It is not merely a number, it is a witness. It is a mark of completion at the edge of conflict. It is a sign that what pressed against you did not get to define you. The battle reached your border, but it did not take your core. The pressure touched your emotions, but it did not rewrite your spirit. The test came near enough to expose what was real, and what was real in you was stronger than the storm around you. 4 speaks of order, structure, and what is firmly established. And when that number appears again and again, it carries the sense that heaven has fully seen, fully weighed, and fully recorded what was formed in you under pressure. This is why your spirit has felt unusual lately. Part of you has known that something ended even if your mind has not yet found language for it. I want to say this gently because some of the deepest people have been through battles they do not know how to explain. You may have been wondering why a certain heaviness suddenly lifted, why a certain struggle no longer grips you the same way, or why your reactions have started to change without your effort. You may have noticed that what used to pull you into fear no longer has the same authority. That is not because your imagination is running wild. It is because heaven does not leave a soul unchanged after true testing. When a season has been completed, something shifts in the interior life. The noise does not always disappear immediately, but your relationship to it changes. The same storm may still be visible, but it no longer sits on the throne of your inner world. Chosen one, there are many who know how to perform spirituality. They know how to say the right thing, quote the right verse, and wear the right expression. But what heaven has been searching for in this hour is not performance. It is formed nature, not rehearsed faith, but rooted faith. Not borrowed light, but inward oil. And that is what was found in you. Not perfection. Heaven was not measuring perfection, it was measuring truth. It was measuring whether your heart still turned toward what is right when no audience was there to reward you. It was measuring whether your spirit still leaned toward light when pain would have made darkness understandable. It was measuring whether what God has been building in you had become strong enough to remain even under strain. This is why some of your hardest seasons have felt so personal, because they were not only about external circumstances, they were about formation. Heaven was building something in you that could not be built through comfort alone. Some lessons only enter the soul through waiting. Some authority only forms through restraint. Some peace only becomes real after it has been tested by chaos. And some forms of spiritual maturity only appear after life places you in a moment where no one else can carry your response for you. That is where you were. That is what has just happened. And that is why the title over this season is no longer testing. It is recognition. Let this settle in your spirit. The test is over. The pressure was real. The loneliness was real. The confusion was real. But the work heaven was doing in the middle of it was real too. And now, because what was hidden has been witnessed, the next movement will not be more proving. It will be revealing. Something is about to be shown to you about what heaven saw in that hidden battle, and once you understand it, you will never look at that painful season the same way again. One chosen, one when heaven closes a season of testing, it does not simply move on quietly. Something shifts in the unseen order of your life. The same pressures that once seemed to circle you begin to lose their authority. The same confusion that once clouded your thoughts begins to thin like fog when the sun rises. You may not see a dramatic announcement in the natural world, but within the spiritual realm, a record has already been written. The moment you chose integrity when compromise was easier, the moment you refused to become bitter when bitterness would have felt justified, the moment you stayed gentle when the situation invited harshness, that moment carried more weight than you realize. There is a reason many people never reach this stage. Not because they are incapable of faith, but because the deeper tests come quietly. They come when the soul is tired. They come when the heart feels misunderstood. They come when there is no applause for doing the right thing. Many can hold their character when the path is easy, but very few maintain it when exhaustion touches their spirit. Yet that was exactly the environment where heaven examined you. Not when you were strong, not when you were prepared, but when you were worn down enough that whatever lived inside your heart would naturally reveal itself. And what was revealed in you, chosen one, was steadiness, not loud heroism, not dramatic displays of holiness. Just something quiet and powerful, consistency of spirit. The kind of integrity that does not need witnesses. The kind of goodness that does not depend on convenience. That is why heaven marked the moment. Because what appeared small in the visible world carried enormous significance in the invisible one. Think about it this way. When a builder finishes the foundation of a structure, there is often very little to see from the outside. No towers, no windows, no beautiful details yet. But the most critical part of the building has already been established. If the foundation holds, everything else can rise safely. In the same way, the season you just endured was the laying of something deep inside your life. Heaven was not decorating your future yet. Heaven was strengthening what will carry it. That is why the marking of this moment matters so much. When heaven witnesses that a soul can hold integrity under pressure, a certain level of trust begins to unfold. It does not mean your life will suddenly become effortless, but it does mean the spiritual ground beneath your feet has changed. You are no longer standing in the same place you were when the test began. You may already feel subtle signs of this shift. Perhaps your thoughts have become quieter. The inner storms that once circled your mind now feel less convincing. Perhaps situations that used to provoke fear or anger now pass through you with less impact. You notice the same events happening around you, yet your response has changed. That is often the first evidence that a test has concluded. The environment may look familiar, but the person standing inside it has been strengthened. There is also another change that often follows a completed test clarity. Not the kind that arrives through long explanations, but the kind that quietly appears in the heart. Suddenly, you begin to understand why certain doors closed, why certain people drifted away, why certain delays stretched longer than you expected. At the time, it may have felt like life was working against you. But once the testing season ends, the meaning of those events begins to reveal itself piece by piece. The scriptures hint at this kind of timing in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11, where it says that everything becomes beautiful in its proper time. Notice that it does not say everything feels beautiful while it is happening. Some seasons feel heavy while you are walking through them, but once heaven completes what it intended to form inside you, the perspective begins to change. Chosen one. The test was never meant to break you. It was meant to reveal you. And now that heaven has seen what lives within your spirit, the next stage of your journey is beginning to unfold quietly around you. Something has already shifted in your favor, even if your eyes have not yet caught up to it. Chosen one. Now that you understand why the test had to happen, you must also understand why heaven marked the moment 4:44. Because moments like this are not random marks on a clock. They are signals. They are reminders that something invisible has reached completion. In the natural world, people glance at numbers and assume coincidence. But in the spiritual rhythm of life, timing often carries meaning far deeper than what the eye first sees. The hour 4:44 is not simply about mathematics. It reflects alignment. The number 4 has long been associated with stability and foundation. Think about the 4 directions of the earth, the 4 seasons that organize time, the 4 corners that hold up a structure. Again and again, 4 appears wherever something is meant to stand firmly and endure. So, when that number appears repeated, it carries a deeper message: foundation, confirmed structure, established ground, secured, chosen one. What heaven marked in your life was not a random emotional victory. It was the confirmation that your inner foundation held steady under pressure. That is why the marking matters. Because before greater responsibility can enter a life, heaven must know that the core will not collapse when pressure returns. Many people desire spiritual authority. They want influence, clarity, or favor. But authority without foundation becomes dangerous. That is why heaven tests character before it releases responsibility. The test you walked through was not punishment. It was construction. Heaven was building the part of you that can carry weight without breaking. And now something else begins. When the clock reaches 4:44, it symbolizes a moment when order is restored in the unseen realm. It is as if heaven is saying the foundation is set. The structure can rise. This does not mean fireworks appear the next morning. Most divine transitions are quiet at first, but the interior life begins to shift in ways that cannot be reversed. One of the first things that changes is your spiritual authority. Chosen. One spiritual authority is not about power over people. It is about the weight of truth carried in your spirit. Have you ever listened to someone speak and felt something deeper than the words themselves? Sometimes a person speaks quietly, yet their words land with unusual clarity. You feel it in your chest. You sense that what they are saying carries something real. That is spiritual authority. After a season like the one you just passed, that kind of authority begins to awaken, not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because what you have endured has carved depth into your spirit. Words spoken from a tested heart carry a different sound. They carry the weight of experience, humility, and truth. The second change that begins around this 4:44 moment is something quieter but equally powerful: inner stability. You may begin to notice that situations that once shook you no longer have the same grip. The same frustrations appear, yet your reactions soften. The same voices of pressure appear, yet they no longer dictate your emotions. It is not that life suddenly becomes perfect. It is that your roots have grown deeper than the storms around you. Picture a tree standing through a heavy wind. If its roots are shallow, the wind uproots it quickly. But if the roots run deep into the earth, the tree bends and sways without collapsing. The season you endured was the growth of those roots. Now your spirit holds a stability that cannot easily be disturbed. And there is a third shift that often follows a completed test: discernment. Chosen. One discernment is the quiet ability to sense truth beneath appearances. After seasons of pressure, your spirit becomes more sensitive to what is real and what is not. You begin to recognize intentions more clearly. You sense when a door carries peace and when it carries confusion. Decisions that once felt complicated begin to reveal themselves with surprising simplicity. This is not intuition in the casual sense. It is maturity formed through experience. When a soul walks through hardship and still chooses integrity, something sharpens inside. The spirit learns to recognize alignment. That is why this 444 marking matters so deeply. It represents the moment when heaven confirms that your foundation is strong enough to carry what is coming next. And what is coming next will require exactly that strength. Chosen one, when a soul passes through a season of testing and heaven marks the moment 444, something else must also be understood. A marked moment is not only a recognition, it is also a transition. It means the season of proving has reached its boundary and the season of responsibility quietly begins to unfold. Many people misunderstand moments like this. They assume that when heaven acknowledges a victory, life suddenly becomes effortless. But spiritual maturity does not remove responsibility. In truth, it increases it. Because when heaven confirms that your character can hold steady under pressure, a deeper level of trust begins to form between your spirit and the assignments that lie ahead. Think about a craftsman forging a blade. The metal is heated, pressed, shaped, and refined. None of those stages feel comfortable to the metal itself. But the purpose is not to destroy the blade. The purpose is to make it strong enough to hold its edge when it is finally placed into real use. The testing season you walked through served the same purpose. It refined the hidden places of your heart so that when influence or opportunity appears, your foundation will not shift. Tyokon. T. This is why humility becomes so important after a moment, like 444. When a person senses that something has changed in their life, there is a quiet temptation that follows. The mind begins to whisper, perhaps you are now above others. Perhaps you have reached a higher place. But that thought is one of the oldest traps in the human journey. Spiritual growth never elevates a person above others. It only deepens their responsibility toward them. Every soul on this earth is walking a different stage of the same path. Some are just beginning to awaken. Some are still wrestling through their wilderness seasons. Some are approaching the moment you have just crossed. But none of those stages make one person superior to another. They simply reveal where each heart is being shaped at that particular time. That is why the most mature souls often carry the quietest spirit. They remember the nights when they themselves were uncertain. They remember the seasons when they felt lost or misunderstood. They remember the prayers spoken through tears that no one else saw. Because they remember those things, they treat others with compassion rather than judgment. Chosen. 1. If heaven marked 444 in your life, it was not to crown your ego. It was to confirm your reliability. Heaven is not searching for perfect people. It is searching for trustworthy hearts. Hearts that can carry influence without becoming arrogant. Hearts that can speak truth without crushing others. Hearts that can walk in strength without forgetting gentleness. And this is where another quiet truth must be understood. The authority that begins to awaken in your life is not something that can be taken from you by circumstances, by critics, or by the noise of the world. The only force that can weaken it is the decision of your own heart. Character is the gate that guards spiritual authority. If a person deliberately turns away from the integrity that formed them, the strength they once carried begins to fade. Not instantly, but gradually. The clarity becomes dull. The peace becomes restless. The inner stability begins to wobble. Not because heaven is punishing them, but because authority cannot live where integrity is abandoned. But the opposite is also true. When a person continues to walk in humility after a season like 444, their foundation becomes even stronger. Their words begin to carry quiet influence. Their presence begins to bring calm where confusion once ruled. People may not always understand why they feel drawn to them, but something within recognizes stability. You may have already noticed glimpses of this. Conversations feel different. People sometimes open their hearts to you without knowing why. Situations that once created tension begin to soften when you enter the room. None of this is about personal greatness. It is about the peace that grows from a soul that has been refined. Chosen one. The marking of 444 means the test revealed something important. Your heart chose integrity even when it was tired. That is the kind of foundation heaven can trust. And because that trust has now been established, the next stage of your journey will not simply be about surviving challenges. It will be about becoming a steady light for others who are still walking through theirs. Chosen one. Now we arrive at the deeper truth behind why heaven marked the moment 444 in your life. Because the end of a test is never only about relief, it is about preparation. When a soul proves that its character can hold steady in private battles, heaven begins to position that soul for something larger than personal survival. You may have noticed something changing around you recently. Old environments no longer feel the same. Conversations that once held your attention now seem empty. Certain situations that used to define your direction no longer fit the person you are becoming. At first, that shift can feel confusing. It may even feel like distance from the life you once knew. But often, that feeling is simply the sign that your spirit has moved forward. Chosen one. The world is passing through a season of unusual uncertainty. Systems people once trusted are shaking. Voices that once seemed certain are becoming divided. Many hearts are searching for something steady, something genuine, something that cannot be easily moved by fear or confusion. And in times like these, heaven quietly begins raising individuals who carry inner stability. Not perfect people, not flawless leaders, but steady souls. The reason your journey required such deep refining is because steady souls are not formed through comfort. They are formed through endurance. They are shaped through moments when compromise was possible, but integrity was chosen instead. They are strengthened through seasons when the heart had to learn patience, restraint, forgiveness, and courage all at the same time. That is why the marking of 444 matters. It signals that the refining stage reached its intended result. The storm revealed something unshakable in you. And once that kind of strength appears in a life, heaven does not leave it hidden forever. This does not mean you are suddenly responsible for saving the world. That is not how divine purpose works. Most assignments are much quieter than people imagine. Often they unfold through ordinary moments. A conversation that brings calm to someone who feels lost. A decision that protects integrity when others would have taken the easier path. A quiet presence that helps another person believe they can survive their own storm. Chosen one influence rarely begins with a stage. It begins with a spirit. People will not necessarily follow you because of titles or recognition. They will feel something in your presence. They will sense that you carry peace where chaos normally lives. They will notice that your responses are measured where others react quickly. And many times they will not know how to explain why that steadiness draws them closer. The answer is simple. They are recognizing the result of your testing season. Your life has become evidence that a person can walk through difficulty and still come out with kindness intact. That a person can face pressure without becoming bitter. That a person can endure silence without losing faith. In a world where many are growing cynical or guarded, that kind of spirit becomes a rare light. This is why the marking of 444 carries meaning beyond a single moment. It is not only heaven acknowledging what you endured, it is heaven recognizing what you have become. But remember something important, chosen one. The strength that formed inside you must always remain connected to humility. The moment a person begins believing their strength belongs to them alone, the foundation weakens. The peace that carried you through your hardest seasons came from walking closely with what is good, what is true, and what is right. Staying near that source will keep your spirit clear as the next chapter unfolds. So if your heart has felt a quiet shift lately, do not dismiss it. If you sense that a chapter closed and another one is opening, trust that feeling. Heaven does not rush these transitions, but when the right moment arrives, it marks it clearly. And for you, chosen one, that mark has already been placed. The test is over. The moment 444 was seen, and the path ahead will begin revealing why everything you endured was necessary. Chosen one. The season you just walked through was not wasted pain. Heaven was shaping something in you that the world desperately needs now. We are living in a time when many voices are loud, but few hearts are steady. Systems are shifting, certainties are fading, and many souls are searching for something real to hold on to. That is why what formed inside you during your hidden battles matters so deeply. Anointed one. Your life is becoming proof that a person can endure hardship without losing their kindness, that a heart can face pressure without surrendering its integrity. That quiet strength is the light heaven intended to place in you, not for applause, but for purpose. So receive this moment with humility and gratitude. The test has ended, and heaven has already seen the strength you carried when no one else was watching. The mark of 444 stands as a reminder that your foundation held firm. If this message resonates in your spirit, you may write Amen in the comments as a quiet declaration that you recognize the season you have just crossed. And if these messages help you discern what God is unfolding in your life, consider subscribing so you do not miss the ones meant for your journey. Walk forward in peace, chosen one. Heaven has seen your faithfulness, and the path ahead is already being prepared.